Alright, YouTube, everyone watching there in your comfy homes and whatever mobile places around the world, let's delve into the action around the world and into this late March madness that's now sort of engulfed our world, if that's a way to put it. It's really a mess out there, even though some good things might be coming our way as well. I guess that's your choice of perspective, how to view things. Okay, here where I live, it's springtime, and that's always a good thing. Certainly better than just watch the news headlines and wonder what on earth is going to happen next. And certainly it's a mess, and here in Finland we're going to have municipal elections, and that's really not so much about which party to vote, because most of the local policies are already in a way in motion and decided, so that's not the bigger issue here. I'm far more interested in the upcoming French presidential elections, starting, I guess, the first round in late April, so within the month, and the second round most likely in early May by the looks of it. So at this point it seems that Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron are going to be in the second round if the Gallup polls are anywhere near to be, let's say, considered reliable. That's been the case in the past few elections. It's hard to say where the pollsters around the world learned the lessons with the Trump win. That certainly seems to be the case, and I have to say that the turnout was massive in the Dutch parliamentary elections still, and that might have skewed alongside with the late incident with Turkey's sort of foreign reach inside the Netherlands. Turkey is also having this big election, and they've been rounding up all the expatriates around the European countries such as Netherlands and Germany. And I guess the big issue there was that the foreign minister foreign affairs wanted to sort of tell their countrymen how to vote in the considering the inner affairs of Turkey and the presidential powers of Erdogan. So that was that thing, and it turns out the centrist parties won, or didn't lose as much, and sort of stop the right-wing party's advancement in a way, but still the populist movement is going on, and we can expect Front National and Marine Le Pen to be a real contender in the presidential race, no matter how much the establishment in France and around the world try to promote Emmanuel Macron, in similar fashion than Hillary Clinton was promoted, at least here in Scandinavia and in Europe in general. So all the things that so the basic talking points are repeated all over the world, and France is also very, very deep in this fake news nonsense. They're having the sort of Decodex maintained by the formerly prestigious Le Monde newspaper, and that was one thing. And other big country in Europe seems to be Germany, and most of their, I guess, this fake news mania, or the sort of a censorship, if that's the way to call it, how the social media sites and services decide to filter the news feed, and the latest controversy over the ads, and people didn't like the ads were let's say with the right wing or extremist content in at least in Google services in YouTube. So there's the sort of gulag archipelago of the social media, where all these sort of bubbles are forming in a sense. But the current affairs around the world and this mayhem of fake news, and well, there was this last 60 minutes fake news interview said that was certainly interesting. There really wasn't a question about defining fake news in itself. Certainly the definition will make all the difference if you considered it to be, what is fake? Is it misleading or factually unproven, or rumors, or what is the definition there? Is it just against the mainstream establishment narrative? That's something to be considered fake, in the sense that George Orwell meant in 1984 in the newspeak. So the fake news mania and that certainly is going on and taking its toll around the social media and the world. And some of these procedures, these services are certainly willing to try include also shadow banning and so this form of sort of let's say quiet censorship, trying to control the flows of people and limit what they see. And certainly there are many services and many settings within services like Twitter and let's say Facebook. You can mute people and prevent that their comments come into your views, so to speak. And then there's this inner procedure these services are engaging in that make sure that people with the wrong views, certainly let's say conservative or alt-right, or people who seem to be red-pilling a lot of malleable youth in this case. So these people down there in the grassroots of the populist movements around the world certainly are included in this form of shadow banning, where they're being quite effectively limited their reach this way. So that's a good way to put it, I guess. And we have 1 month to go till the French presidential election, so that's a good way to sort of take the temperature of the movement and see what's going to happen. We don't really know a whole lot. What will the result be at this point? It's too early to say, but should the media, the mass media, choose to go overboard with this Russia stuff, like in United States, and with the help of, I guess, both the parties, some parts of the parties, the neocons and the neoliberals of Democratic Party are certainly playing the Russia card pretty extensively. So maybe they are over-exhausting that line of thought before the French election, even though Marine Le Pen just went to Moscow to meet Putin, and there was big sort of in the sense of let's say 100 years ago, 1917, there was the first Russian Revolution. So the Tsarist power was overturned 100 years ago, and in remembrance of those events, they chose to sort of organize a demonstration around Russia. It was a small demonstration, all things considered. It got big media attention. Many people were of this so-called opposition outside the Duma, the Russian parliament. So parties that have no representation inside the parliament. I guess they're called opposition to an extent, you could say, but they're still very minor. And the party led by Navalny, who got arrested and will most likely be released in a fortnight. Surely he is. I have to say that his political stands are very, very in similar, like many of the populists are anti-immigration and racist, and in the sense that were he in any other country than Russia or Belarus, he would be condemned as racist. But with inside Russia and inside that context against Putin, anything goes, and certainly we can expect him to have lots of support within the NGOs of the supporting the American hegemony and NATO and Soros and all that kind of crowd going around there. So that's certainly one thing to pay attention. I'm certainly having doubt that there will be any sort of color revolution in Russia. Even though I have to say that the circumstances and then the economic situation and the military tension there is not as high as it were take few years back since the beginning of the sanctions and their effects. But now Russia is on the way to recover, so to speak, the economic integration with China, the new Silk Road. Those projects are coming along, and Russia's agriculture is sort of found itself a new boost, and that's certainly given lots of farmers the incentive to develop new and invest in new techniques and provide a non-GMO supply for the country, so they don't have to rely on foreign imports on that sorts. So there's good news, there's bad news, there's obviously lots of new opportunities in the country. It's not a free market paradise by any means, but certainly if there is a demand for certain products and there are no sanctions that certainly would get in the way, I'm pretty sure that any kind of, let's say, not any kind, obviously there are political reasons not to engage in trade with these countries that are on the axis of evil. Certainly countries like Iran and North Korea. Well, North Korea is sort of an exception to all that, but let's say all these countries now maintaining sort of sanctions are Russia and Iran. Certainly North Korea is totally, I guess, needlessly excluded. In a way, they're throwing a new tantrum on the missile tests and all that. Certainly a situation we have to certainly keep our heads wrapped around, considering all the history around that region and now the new militarization in Japan in particular. Then there's the interesting things happening in South Korea with the impeachment of the president and those kinds of things unraveling in there, the corruption so wide scale, and similar kinds of leads going on around the world, and considering corruption and exposing corruption certainly we are not completely free of it here in Finland, even though we are many times touted as the most open and see-through society and less corrupted in that regards, but we do have this internal sort of system that makes sure that you play good with the team, and you'll get rewarded. So that kind of thing is also happening here. There isn't much we can do here, considering, let's say, voting any of the parties inside the parliament. They are all part in this grand scheme of this institutional corruption that is hard to dismantle, because it's not only politicians, it's the administrators, the officials, and the business lobbyists, and all of those are sort of intertwined into this quasi shadow government in a way that takes care of their own interests above else. But that's going to be all for now. It's going to be interesting, let's say, month, I guess. It's time to make a recap, perhaps later point about the current political situation at that point. But that's going to be all for now. Thanks for watching.